invited. The Congressional Black Caucus said the Supreme Court has thrown into question its own legitimacy. Is this a rogue court?
This is not a normal court. We cannot let this decision be the last word. I want to emphasize, we cannot let this decision be the last word. While the court can render a decision, it cannot change what America stands for. You know, I know today's court decision is a severe disappointment to so many people, including me. But we cannot let the decision be a permanent setback for the country. You're not going to see anybody building a new coal-fired plant in America. Not just because I'd like to pass a law to say that. It's too expensive. It doesn't work anymore. I've long said, and I mean this, I was on the Tibetan Plateau with Xi Jinping. I traveled 17,000 miles with him. I've spoken with him more than any other head of state because it started when I was vice president, and President Hu was the president, and he was the vice president. We knew he was going to be successful. It was inappropriate for Barack to spend that time with him, but I spent a lot of time with him. I met alone with him, just he and I, and a simultaneous interpreter 68 times, 68 hours, 68 times, more than 68 hours. By the way, I turned in all my notes.
President Biden, how involved were you in your son's Chinese shakedown text message? Were you sitting there? Were you involved?
No, I wasn't.
Were you?
No.
Just in my first 2 years in office, my team and I have reduced the deficit by $1.7 trillion, more than any president had. Just in 2 years. I made a commitment when I got elected. No one in America making under $400,000 will ever have to pay a single penny more in federal taxes as long as I'm president. And I've kept that promise. And guess what? Bidenomics is working.
It's hard to tell, but he's clearly losing the war in Iraq. He's losing the war at home. And he has become a bit of a briar around the world. And it's not just NATO. It's not just the European Union. It's Japan. It's 40 nations.
To do that search warrant, even though the legal requirements to execute that search warrant were met. We got updated information that said that records were in that location would be evidence in this particular investigation. The prosecutors initially were supportive of it, and an affidavit was drafted the night of December 8th, 2020 to go forward for approval. Eventually, the prosecutors decided they didn't support it, so I called U.S. Attorney David Weiss with my senior executive on the phone, and we said, we needed to execute this search warrant. He responded that the prosecutors didn't want to, and I asked if in 30 days, if that storage unit wasn't accessed, and that was the deadline for the document request that was served on that day, then we can execute the search warrant. And he agreed to that. No sooner had I gotten off the phone with David Weiss had we learned that the prosecutors were informing defense counsel of that storage unit and the evidence that existed there. So it completely ruined our chance to access those unfettered.